At 18, my fiancé from a wealthy family became a vegetable in a car accident. My parents, unwilling to have me marry into such hardship, adopted an orphan to take my place. The whole family guiltily doted on her. My beloved brother loved her dearly, and my first love fell for her too. I gave up everything for her. My room, my lover, their affection, and even when she was unwell, my parents forced me to donate blood to her every month, which I did. You owe her this. As the wedding day approached, I finally lost hope. Fine, I'll marry him. From then on, I was even with them.
1.
Fine, I'll marry him, I said. Mom finally smiled with satisfaction. Bella, I'm glad you've come to your senses. After all, this is your responsibility, and there's no reason for someone else to do it for you. Besides, the Xanthus family is so famous. If Xanthus hadn't had that accident, you would never have had a chance to marry into such a wealthy family. I calmly looked at this woman who was so eager to marry me off to the Xanthus family. I vaguely remembered 6 years ago, when I heard the news of Xanthus's accident, she had held me in her arms and cried, begging Dad to do something. Bella is my baby. Unless I die, I would never let her marry a living dead man. Unexpectedly, in just 6 years, I had gone from being her precious baby to someone insignificant. I interrupted her. When is the wedding? Mom's face froze. 10 days later, the Xanthus family will come to pick you up. I nodded, without a word of objection, and went back to my room. As soon as I closed the door, I heard Mom immediately make a phone call, excitedly shouting, "Honey, Bella agreed to marry him. You go pick Claire up from the N Mountain Villa quickly." I wonder if my Claire has been suffering. I listened coldly and suddenly realized why they had been picking on me and blaming me for driving Claire away these past few days. It turned out they had simply placed her in a better villa to protect her and then forced me to marry. Clearly, at the beginning, they had adopted her and felt guilty towards her because of me. But gradually, everyone favored her. Not only did they send me to the storage room, but they also spoke harshly to me. Even when she repeatedly framed me, they didn't listen to my explanation, but thought I was jealous of her and wanted to drive her to death. Everyone said that I owed her, and that every day I lived, I had to atone for my sins to her. I didn't want to owe them anymore.
2.
With 10 days to go, I've been eagerly preparing to leave this house for good. When I got home from shopping today, as soon as I opened my room door, a big bucket of dirty water was poured over my head. In that instant, I was drenched from head to toe, the smell of rotten vegetables and rotten eggs enveloping me. It was extremely foul. "Claire, look at her, isn't she so funny?" My older brother Weston's voice came from upstairs. I looked up in disbelief and saw him holding up his phone, filming me. My first love, Vaughn, was also there, gently coaxing the person on the screen. "Claire, are you feeling better now?" Claire's laughter came from the other end of the phone. My heart turned cold. They were doing this to me just to please Claire. It wasn't until they hung up the phone that Weston and Vaughn hurried over to me. "Bella, don't worry. We were just trying to reassure Claire." Vaughn looked at me covered in filth and threw me a tissue disdainfully, perfunctorily saying, "You know Claire is going to marry into the Xanthus family for your sake soon, so we wanted to make a commemorative video to cheer her up." Weston echoed him. He looked down at his phone. "Claire said she wants to go shopping. We'll go find her first, Bella, you. You just clean yourself up, wash yourself properly, don't let anyone see you, don't lose face for the Bella family. We'll compensate you later." With that, they left in a hurry. I stood there, finding it ridiculous. Later? We won't have a later. 3. For the next few days, I didn't leave the house. Until that day, my parents decided to hold a banquet to invite the Vaughns. The Vaughn family has always been close to the Bella family. Before Claire, Vaughn and I were childhood sweethearts with deep affection for each other, and the two families had long intended to form a marriage alliance. At the banquet, my father announced on the spot that he wanted the daughter of the Bella family to be engaged to Vaughn. I was stunned. Vaughn, sitting next to me, sneered immediately. He leaned close to me and whispered in a voice only the two of us could hear, "Are you so desperate to get married that you even want to force a marriage?" Weston sneered. Are you satisfied now? You even want to deprive Claire of her last few days of happiness. Bella, how could I have such a vicious sister? Vaughn's parents were sitting far away and didn't hear. They were still talking loudly, and Vaughn's mother said happily that whoever married Bella would be blessed. They all thought the daughter of the Bella family my father was referring to as me. Claire looked very wronged, and the two of them were even more dissatisfied with me. Regardless of everything, Vaughn took out the heirloom bracelet of the Vaughn family and gave it to her on the spot. It was the bracelet he said he would give to his future wife when I was 18. When he said this, he had been looking at me, and the sunlight was so good at that time, we both blushed. Before the age of 18, my brother would kneel down step by step to beg for a talisman for me, my parents would dote on me, and Vaughn's eyes were only on me. But now, in front of everyone, he disregarded everyone's astonishment and only looked at Claire. He held her hand and said with conviction, Claire, no matter what, you are the most important person to me. Weston, like a protector, also stood beside Claire. Only me like an outsider. My parents, not far away, were whispering, these two silly kids, they still think Bella is going to marry Vaughn. I don't know how happy they would be if they knew Vaughn was going to marry Claire. But Bella hasn't married yet. I just don't feel at ease, so let's keep it a secret for now, and give them a surprise later. 4. That dinner was tasteless. I had no desire to argue, nor the energy to watch their performance anymore, so I simply went back to my room to pack my things. Counting the days, I would be going to the Xanthus family in 4 days. Good, I was leaving this place. I packed my essentials, but there was still a pile of useless junk left. Love letters Vaughn had written to me, family photos of us, and a talisman Weston had begged for me. Now, I just found them annoying. I didn't want to leave any trace of them. Carrying the box downstairs, the maid was lighting the fireplace. Since they were all paper products, I casually gave them to her and asked her to use them as fuel and burn them all for me. The maid was surprised and said, Miss, these things are all in good condition. Don't you want them anymore? I shook my head gently. It's meaningless anymore. At that moment, there was a commotion inside the house, and someone shouted loudly that there was a thief. I looked up in confusion, and Weston just walked out of the house. He saw me from a distance and walked over angrily, questioning, Did you steal Claire's things? Do you know how sad she is? I was baffled. What things? I didn't take anything. Vaughn knocked my box over, and the pieces of paper flew everywhere. He picked up a talisman from it and shouted at me, You still say you didn't take it? Bella, is it necessary? You're going to marry me soon. What else are you not satisfied with? Apologize to her immediately. Claire also said aggrievedly, Sister, please let me go. I won't compete with you for brother and Vaughn anymore. The talisman was a gift from my brother, and it's very important. I can give you anything, can you just give it back to me? For a moment, everyone turned their questioning eyes on me. I looked at Claire and said calmly, If you insist it was me, then let's check the surveillance. But if what you said is false, Claire, I want you to apologize to me. With that, I turned and walked upstairs. My attitude was so firm that Claire immediately panicked. She looked at Weston and her parents and cried, Brother, hurry up and stop her. If we really check the surveillance, won't everyone know that there's a thief in the Bella family? Weston, who had been hesitant, saw Claire crying and immediately rushed upstairs without hesitation, grabbing my wrist. Bella, when are you going to stop making a fuss? Aren't you embarrassed enough? What did Claire do wrong that you have to target her like this? I tried hard to pull my hand away. Let go of me. You're too much. Weston yelled and simply pulled me hard. Because of the inertia, I was thrown down the stairs and fell heavily to the ground. With a loud bang, a large amount of bright red blood flowed out. I was so painful that I couldn't speak, but Weston still looked down at me condescendingly and said coldly, Now you're starting to play the victim again? I didn't use much force at all. How could you possibly fall so far? My parents were also disappointed. Even though I was the one who was injured, my mother was still holding Claire and scolding me loudly. Claire has always been in poor health, and you still want to grab her things and make her cry. Stop pretending. Get up quickly. I really regret giving birth to a daughter like you. Vaughn even wanted to pull me directly from the pool of blood, forcing me to get up and apologize to Claire. But I couldn't bear the pain anymore, and I fainted. Before I fainted, I heard Vaughn's mother pointing at the talisman in the fire and asking, "If this is Claire's talisman, why would it have Bella's name written on it?"
5.
I woke up in the hospital. There was no one around to accompany me, and there were only a few sporadic messages on my phone. My parents blamed me for being unreasonable. Weston apologized to me, but also said righteously, who could blame them for making a mistake since I had always targeted Claire. Vaughn even accused me of causing a scene at the banquet. But it's a good thing, Vaughn said. The Xanthus family will be coming to pick me up soon, and I don't want her to be sad in the last 3 days. We'll come pick you up later. With that said, they left me alone in the hospital as if it were natural. Fortunately, I didn't care anymore. I didn't reply, I just blocked them all. 3 days later, the Xanthus family called to pick me up. There was a deep, pleasant male voice on the phone, asking me if I needed to go home to pack my things and say goodbye to my family. No need. I clicked on a video sent by Claire on my phone, and they were celebrating her discharge from the hospital at N Mountain Villa. That's no longer my home. From now on, I have nothing to do with these people.
6.
After a 6-hour flight, I finally arrived in J City. As soon as I got off the plane, I was helped into a wheelchair and pushed towards the arrival gate by the Xanthus family's nanny. The nanny smiled and said, "Miss Bella, no, Mrs. Xanthus. Everyone has been waiting for you for a long time." I realized then that there was a huge crowd of people at the airport entrance. There was even a sign at the very front that read, "Warmly welcome Miss Bella to J City." The one holding the sign was Xanthus' sister, Daisy. The Xanthus family had sent me photos before I came, and I looked back. To the left of Daisy were Xanthus' parents, to the right were his uncle and aunt and his uncle and aunt. The whole family was there to pick me up. Faced with so many gazes, I couldn't help but feel nervous and wanted to stand up and greet everyone. "Hello." "Bella, sit down. There's no need for so much formality between us." Xanthus' mother quickly pressed down on my movement, took the wheelchair from the nanny, and gently pushed me into the car. "It's all Daisy's fault for wanting to surprise you. So many people. Are you not scared?" Daisy came over with a playful smile. "Sister-in-law, I'm Daisy."
Wow.
"You're even more beautiful in person than in the photos. I'm going to be jealous of my stinky brother Xanthus." Xanthus' mother pretended to be angry. "Don't be disrespectful. Don't always belittle your brother." Okay, let's go home. Bella has come a long way, and she's still injured, so she can't catch a cold." A group of people got into the car, and Daisy leaned over to chat with me, introducing her relatives while telling me about the delicious food in J City and saying she wanted to take me to all sorts of fun places. Okay, Daisy, don't bother her anymore." Xanthus' mother hugged me and sighed. "Bella, do you remember when you were a child, when your parents often brought you to J City on business during your winter and summer vacations? The last time we met was back then, right? At that time, you always followed behind your brother Xanthus like a little tail. And you said you would marry him when you grew up. This marriage actually came true. Unknowingly, you have grown into a big girl." I was slightly startled, and many childhood memories came to mind. I nodded and said, "I remember, I often fell from trees and got hurt at that time, and every time you would bandage me up yourself." "Good child." Xanthus' mother touched my face affectionately. "Don't worry, now that you've come to the Xanthus family, you're one of us. No matter what happens in the future, the Xanthus family will always be your support." Daisy also interjected, "Yes, sister-in-law, if anyone bullies you in the future, I'll beat him up." I couldn't help but wipe away the tears from the corner of my eyes and nodded heavily. "Thank you, mother-in-law. Thank you, sister." "Why are you thanking us?" Xanthus' mother handed me a handkerchief and comforted me. "After you go home today, you can have a good night's sleep. We have prepared all the things a girl needs according to Daisy's, so you can just settle down and buy anything you need. Tomorrow, we'll accompany you to the hospital for a checkup, and by the way, See Xanthus, okay? Her voice was very gentle, so gentle that it was unreal, and I nodded heavily again in response. The Xanthus family was different from what I imagined, perhaps. I wouldn't regret marrying Xanthus.
7.
The next afternoon, Xanthus's mother and Daisy accompanied me to the hospital and covered all the medical examination items. After a careful screening, the doctor said that only the fall from the stairs needed to rest, and Daisy couldn't help but curse the culprit several times. It's simply despicable. How could there be such a bad person? I reassured her that it was all in the past, and there was no need to worry. While chatting with me, the two of them pushed the wheelchair upstairs, and in the blink of an eye, we arrived at Xanthus's ward. The entire floor was occupied only by Xanthus, and it was terribly quiet. My heart was pounding, and before I could think, Daisy pushed open the door and shouted, "Brother, Xanthus, look who's here." I was stunned for a moment. Then I saw a young man with a handsome and gentle appearance. He reacted quickly, smiled slightly, and greeted me. "Hello, Bella." "Hello." Isn't Xanthus a vegetable? Why is he awake? When did he wake up? Logically, I shouldn't be so flustered, because before that, I had already had some vague premonition. At the hospital, the man's voice on the phone call from the Xanthus family was exceptionally pleasant, and I remembered it very well. But after coming to the Xanthus family, I hadn't seen the owner of the voice. But when the guest was confirmed, I was actually a little hesitant to believe it. "Bella, are you scared?" Xanthus's mother said with a smile. "Actually, Xanthus woke up 2 months ago. I was just thinking that you were coming to J City, so I didn't tell you right away." The doctor said he could be discharged from a hospital in a week, and the wedding will be held at the end of May. What do you think? 2 months ago? No wonder my parents were so anxious to hint that I marry into the Xanthus family. Originally, after Xanthus became a vegetable, the Xanthus family had never mentioned it again. If Xanthus woke up, everything would make sense. I nodded, then realized that Xanthus was still there, and my cheeks and neck turned red with embarrassment. And Xanthus had a slight smile on his lips, taking in my embarrassment. He said softly, "If Bella agrees, of course I have no problem, but I just don't want to rush the wedding just to meet the deadline. I want to give Bella the grandest wedding."
8.
It wasn't until the doctor came to inform Xanthus of his rehabilitation training and asked us to go home first that I came to my senses from my embarrassment. Xanthus's mother joked with me, "Bella, you should come see him more often when you have free time, and the two of you can cultivate your relationship." Of course, I agreed. Xanthus, probably inheriting his mother's gentleness, knowing that I would come to see him, had specially installed a rest area in the ward, filled with various snacks and games for me to pass the time. I felt a little embarrassed. I'm not a child anymore. Xanthus said, "It's okay to play at any age." Daisy said that girls of this age would like to play these things, so I had to prepare them first. "It doesn't matter if you don't like it, I'll prepare some others." "By the way, I heard from my mother that you got hurt? What happened? Is it serious?" I pursed my lips. "Well, I fell down the stairs." "It's nothing serious. It won't delay the wedding." He was startled. "That's not what I meant."
"Sorry."
Xanthus said helplessly, "Bella, don't be so nervous. Publicly, you are my future wife, and I have to be responsible for you. Privately, I also want to be good to you." I was a little touched. After coming to J City, the Xanthus family had given me so much kindness. Food, clothing, housing, and transportation were all taken care of. Xanthus touched my head and didn't ask any more questions. When I left the ward, I vaguely heard him making a phone call. "Go and investigate carefully what happened to Bella in H City." Yes, everything. And the dynamics of the Bella family in recent years. Pretending not to hear, I quietly left the hospital. The Bella family's adoption of Claire was highly publicized from the beginning, and everyone in the H City circle knew that the adopted daughter of the Bella family was the real apple of their eye. The Xanthus family would eventually know too. If they knew about the Bella family's initial attempt to substitute a bride, would they still be so good to me? For the next week, I went to the hospital every day to accompany Xanthus for rehabilitation training. But my phone kept receiving messages from unknown numbers. Claire is about to marry into the Xanthus family. Why don't you come back to see her off? When did you become so cold-blooded? I was too impulsive that day at the engagement, but at this critical moment, you blocked me and ran away from home. Is it necessary? I knew without thinking that it was Vaughn and Weston who sent them. I blocked them all and ignored them. Looking up, Xanthus handed me a tablet with several styles of wedding dresses. The phoenix crown and phoenix robe had been prepared since 7 years ago. Because of the car accident, it was delayed for several years, but it can be completed before the wedding. As for the wedding dress, Daisy, my mother, and I have all chosen some. See if you like any of them, and I'll have someone send them over for you to try on. I took the tablet with a complicated mood. Every wedding dress was extremely luxurious and complex in style. It was obvious that the person who chose them had put a lot of effort into it. After choosing carefully for half an hour, I pointed to the first one and said, "I'll take this one." "This one?" Xanthus was stunned for a moment, then laughed. "We're really in sync." It was actually chosen by Xanthus. "I was thinking that you would look very beautiful in this dress." I blushed again, but at the same time, I couldn't help but worry. Tomorrow Xanthus would be discharged from the hospital, and according to the connections of the Xanthus family in J City, it was impossible that he hadn't found out about the Bella family's affairs after a week. Xanthus, I wanted to tell him the truth. As if seeing through my confusion, Xanthus smiled and said, "It's okay, Bella, I know everything. Just leave everything to me. You just have to be a happy bride."
9.
I soon realized what Xanthus meant by leaving it to him. When finalizing the guest list, he asked me to cross out the Bella family's name without hesitation, and the Xanthus family already knew my dilemma. Before the wedding, he specially found a close friend of Xanthus's mother and asked her to adopt me as her goddaughter so that I could go to her house to get married. On the day of the adoption ceremony, Xanthus's mother held me and cried with heartache, saying, "Good child, you've suffered." She immediately took out the complete set of jewelry that Xanthus's grandmother had given her when she was young, as well as a thick stack of red envelopes. Daisy also gave me a piece of jewelry she had designed herself, and the other relatives of the Xanthus family also sent gifts. Not only that, Xanthus's father also made a decision, directly transferring 20% of the shares of the Xanthus family company to my name. All this was just to reassure me. I couldn't control myself anymore and burst into tears. Xanthus comforted me. "No matter what happened before, let it go. From the moment you came to J City, you have been considered family by everyone." At that moment, I truly connected with Xanthus and this entire family. In mid-May, as the wedding day drew closer, I couldn't help but feel nervous. But Xanthus always accompanied me and arranged everything in an orderly manner, which also made me relax. That day, an unexpected visitor suddenly appeared at the entrance of the Xanthus family's manor. When the nanny brought him to the banquet hall, I was just trying on my toast dress. Fearing that it was something important, I didn't change. The visitor was actually Vaughn. He looked much more downcast, with dark circles under his eyes, as if he hadn't had a good night's sleep in a long time. As soon as he saw me, his eyes turned bloodshot, and he took a step forward and asked incredulously, "Bella, are you really getting married? Do you know how long I've been looking for you? Uncle Yuri said you married Xanthus. I didn't believe it."
Why?
"Why would you rather marry a vegetable than stay by my side?" I frowned, took 2 steps back, and said calmly, "Mr. Vaughn, we have no relationship. Please respect yourself."
10.
"Respect yourself?" He looked sad. "Bella, how can you say that to me? How can we not have a relationship? Have you forgotten everything before? Uncle Yuri said about the engagement. Aren't you going to marry me soon? How can you betray me?" I thought he was ridiculous. The one who forgot the true feelings was never me, but Weston and him. The person who was supposed to marry you was always Claire, don't you know? He was stunned, as if he had been hit. I understood, and I said again, And isn't this the result everyone is satisfied with? You can marry the girl you love, and the Bella family doesn't lose their beloved daughter and sister. What else are you dissatisfied with?
No.
How is that possible? I don't know. I always thought it was you who was going to marry me. Vaughn retorted, even if that's the case, you can't jump into the fire pit of the Xanthus family. And besides, I've always wanted to marry only you. Bella, come back with me. We all thought it was Claire who was going to marry Xanthus, so we compensated her. Besides, you already have so much love. What's wrong with letting her have a little? Before she came, weren't we good to you? On the matter of Claire, Weston and Vaughn were like they had been bewitched, and they kept repeating the same set of words over and over again, and I was tired of listening. Smiling, I said, "Go back? Where to go? To the Bella family? For me, that's the real fire pit." Vaughn was about to say something else when a clear male voice suddenly sounded. "Bella, is there a guest?" Hearing this, he looked like he had seen a ghost. His eyes widened. "Xanthus? Aren't you a vegetable?" I turned around and said softly, "Just a stranger." In that case, Xanthus's gaze paused on Vaughn, and he said indifferently, "Since he's a stranger, there's no need to waste time on him. Aunt Ella, show the guest out." 11. Vaughn was reluctantly escorted away. As soon as he left, Xanthus took my hand, and an endless stream of warmth came from his palm, feeling especially warm. "I'm fine," I smiled. "I was just thinking, maybe something happened to the Bella family, so Vaughn suddenly came to find me." Xanthus paused and said solemnly, "Do you mind if I tell you?" I nodded. It turned out that after I left, Weston and Vaughn both thought that I was sulking and ran away from home, and when Claire married into J City, I would naturally go home. So, during the last period, they chartered a yacht, bought bags, and did everything they could to make Claire happy. But as the Xanthus family wedding approached, the matter became widely known, and Vaughn also saw the wedding invitation sent by the Xanthus family from his friends. My name was written on it. Vaughn went crazy on the spot and went directly to the Bella family to ask what was going on. Bella's parents couldn't hide it anymore and admitted that I was going to marry into the Xanthus family. Weston was also dumbfounded and immediately revealed the fact that he had adopted Claire in order for her to marry into the Xanthus family. Claire was heartbroken after hearing this, and Bella's parents felt very sorry, so they wanted to arrange a marriage between her and Vaughn to comfort her, but unexpectedly, Vaughn had already left. He took a 6-hour flight to J City to find me. I listened with great interest, and Xanthus shook his head. "I'm afraid this matter is not over yet." Sure enough, as Xanthus had guessed, things were not over yet. After being rejected by me, Vaughn went to a bar to get drunk and drank too much. That night, he called the Bella family to announce that the only daughter of the Bella family he wanted to marry was Bella, which angered Bella's parents so much that they directly canceled the relationship between Bella and Vaughn's families. After doing this, Vaughn went crazy and sent me messages to keep me, but I didn't reply. However, when he woke up from his hangover the next morning, he found that Weston had directly published the marriage certificate with Claire on social media. Vaughn was completely dumbfounded and hurriedly flew back to H City to apologize. But no matter how much he apologized, Claire could no longer marry him.
12.
I'm not interested in this farce. Tomorrow is my wedding day with Xanthus. On the day of the wedding, I attended wearing a wedding dress personally chosen by Xanthus, and Daisy volunteered to be my maid of honor. All the media reporters were scrambling to report on this century wedding. Everyone was celebrating, and I also got married from my godmother's house. However, just as I stepped out of the manor, a car blocked the door. A group of people walked towards me angrily, and Bella's mother asked me bluntly, "Bella, why didn't you tell us you were getting married? If we hadn't found out about the wedding invitation from others and didn't know our own daughter was getting married. And now you even have another godmother. Do you still have me, your mother, in your eyes? I raised a daughter for 24 years, and I didn't expect to raise such an ungrateful daughter." The reporters snapped photos frantically, seeing that there was news. I said calmly, "Since Weston pushed me down the stairs and since you favored Claire, I have had nothing to do with the Bella family. Please leave." Your brother didn't do it on purpose, Bella's father said. Besides, aren't you also at fault? Weston said, That's right. It's just a minor injury. Is it necessary to make such a fuss about it? And Claire is your sister-in-law now. Don't you know how to be more respectful? The reporters behind whispered, all pointing fingers at me for being unfilial and simply unconscionable. I really didn't want to comment on their hasty and absurd marriage. I didn't want to argue with them either. These people had gone completely mad. Just as I was about to call security, a voice interrupted me. I saw Xanthus striding over, protectively standing behind me. Bella, are you all right? I shook my head, but saw him look coldly at the Bella family and finally said to Bella's mother, Since you are uninvited, don't come uninvited. The Xanthus family doesn't welcome you. Weston was so angry that he almost rushed forward. You dash. Besides, Xanthus said to Bella's mother, treating your husband's first love's daughter as a treasure, but ignoring your own daughter. I really admire you, Aunt Fiona. 13. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was stunned. Bella's mother was also dumbfounded. She opened her mouth and asked, What do you mean by that? I looked at Xanthus curiously, and he patted my shoulder before saying, 20 years ago, before Uncle Yuri married you, he had a first love. Unfortunately, she married someone else and gave birth to a daughter, who was Claire. Later, when Claire's family encountered difficulties and Claire's parents passed away, Uncle Yuri had been raising his first love's daughter until the Xanthus family had an accident, and he adopted her under the pretext of being a substitute bride. Your whole family is really strange. You dote on other people's daughters but ignore your own. During this period, you have been treating your biological daughter badly, making her donate blood to the adopted daughter and causing her to be seriously injured repeatedly. It's just that my wife would never betray anyone. Even if she mistakenly thought I was still a vegetable, she was willing to marry me. Bella's mother was completely panicked. She grabbed Bella's father's hand and said, Is what he said true?
Tell me.
How could Claire be the daughter of that bitch? And you also said that you wanted to use Bella to exchange for the optical cable project in the Xanthus family? Oh my God. What have I done to Bella? As soon as she let go, she fell directly to the ground. Weston was also anxious. Dad, you have to explain. Is Claire the daughter of that person? Bella's father said fiercely, Of course not. He must be lying to you. Don't believe his nonsense. But Xanthus smiled slightly. Aunt Fiona, I have evidence. As he spoke, he directly took out a childhood photo of Claire with her mother and Bella's father. Starting today, the Xanthus family and the Bella family will cut off all contact, and we will withdraw all project cooperation. Uncle and Aunt, please leave. When he finished speaking, he was about to help me walk to the car, but I said, Wait.
Everyone looked at me.
I took a deep breath and said to Weston, I will report you to the police for pushing me down the stairs that day. You just wait for the court summons.
14.
I contacted Bella's nanny and got the surveillance footage of Weston pushing me down the stairs. Xanthus's legal team took action and sent Weston directly to prison for 5 years. With Weston sentenced, Claire was kicked out of the house by Bella's mother, and she went to find Vaughn, and the two of them hooked up immediately. I heard they didn't get along well and often fought. Bella's parents also completely fell out over Claire. With internal discord within the Bella family group and the severed relationship with the Xanthus family, their business went downhill rapidly, and they were likely to go bankrupt soon. I rarely paid attention to this news anymore, and Xanthus told me about it intermittently. Later, I simply told him not to pay attention anymore. There was no need to waste his mood on people who were not worth it. In this way, the two families had no contact for more than half a year. The last time I heard about the Bella family was on a snowy day. The Bella family was completely bankrupt, and Bella's father was homeless, while Bella's mother called me with a passerby's phone. Your father brainwashed me every day, saying that you owed her, and I was blinded by lard, and I actually believed it. Claire, Mom was wrong, and I don't expect you to forgive me, but I've really suffered these years. Without waiting for my answer, she hung up the phone. That afternoon, she drove and crippled Claire and Vaughn. It is said that the surveillance cameras on the roadside captured her expression of ferocity as she cursed them viciously and went crazy, saying, "You should also taste what my daughter has experienced." On the day of the trial, Xanthus accompanied me to take a distant look. If you're worried, I can contact someone to let you meet them privately. Looking at the thin woman sitting in the dock, I shook my head. Forget it, I won't go. I don't want to look back at the past. I just want to walk well on the road ahead. Xanthus held my hand and said softly, "Don't worry. I'll always be with you, no matter where you want to go."